In this video, I'm going to be showing you a better way to set up client channels in Slack. We'll be going over what this feature actually is, the benefits of actually integrating this within your company Slack, and as always, how you can automate the use of this feature by stealing our templates that we use for our agency. So what is this magical feature I'm talking about? It's called canvases. Now, Slack canvases are collaborative documents that live within your Slack channels. This is kind of like a page within Slack where you can write things down in a mini document format. Before I show you how we use this and how we actually automated the creation of these canvases, let me address the elephant in the room. Slack canvases have been around for a while, embarrassingly so since April 2023. So why is this guy right here in the orange hoodie making a video about this in 2025? Well, to be honest guys, when I first got introduced to Slack channels by the Slack team, I completely ignored them. And to be honest, if you're watching this video right now, you're most likely in a similar position yourself. You see, I already had my custom project management tool to manage my team, and I was already using Notion and Google Document to handle my different documents. It wasn't until April last year where I started playing around with these canvases and realizing how useful they actually are. We were working with a client, and due to the nature of our work, we had a lot of important documents, important looms, and just general resources that we had to store in one place, which was easy for them to actually access. And this is where Slack canvases actually came into play. For context, I run a company called Fluxomate. We're an operational agency that helps leading seven-figure agencies improve their backend systems so they can take on more clients without ruining the client experience. About 80% of all of our client communication happens within Slack itself. So we were using Slack both internally to communicate with our team and externally to communicate with our clients, like many agency owners, maybe even you watching this right now, are actually doing. So it really made sense for us to begin using these different Slack canvases to welcome or streamline our Slack onboarding and store different resources within individual client channels. I mean, what better place to do this than within Slack directly? Let me jump into Slack so I can give you a better idea of what these Slack canvases actually look like and how you can actually use them within your agency. So within Slack, I've opened up an example channel, and in order to actually add a canvas to your individual channels, whether it's client channels, team channels, it's super easy. All you have to do is press this plus button right here. From there, you choose canvas, and here you can create a new canvas, and that's pretty much it. You basically added a canvas. Now, at the moment, this is obviously an empty page that you need to fill out, and I'm going to show you different examples of what that can actually look like. But this is the manual way of creating canvases. And by the way, guys, don't forget, after I go over all the benefits of actually using these canvases within your Slack, I'm going to show you how you can actually automate the creation process of these canvases within your client channels. Until then, let me show you some examples. So Slack already had created some templates for us that I can just show you. This will give you a better understanding of how you can actually use these. I mean, they have a ton of different examples here, from employee onboarding to monthly newsletters, even weekly syncs. I mean, there's so much you can actually do, but this is what they basically look like. They're basically just documents that live within your Slack channels. They kind of look like Notion to some extent, but you can add some cool things and add a couple of different cards to make this look a bit better. This is an example for employee onboarding, which, for example, I'm just going to add it now, so you can just get an idea of how you can actually use this. So in this case, they were using it for employee onboarding. And this is kind of what that looks like. You can see we can have these tick boxes which you can tick off and it'll automatically mark it. We can have tables to, I don't know, track different meetings. We can even track onboarding buddies just by adding different users, just like that. We can even integrate different Slack workflows within these Slack channels, or even add different links to important, I don't know, reads that different employees in this case have to look at. I mean, all these are basically live documents where you can store information. They have also recently released this ability to add lists, which are basically just kind of mini databases that you can host within Slack, or you can maybe even assign tasks to different people, just basically store individual records. I personally still don't use these, and hopefully I don't have to make a video in 3 months time going over how good these are, because I don't really see the value for these. I mean, to some extent they are good, but we already have, you know, internal project management system to manage our tasks, and we have internal client portals for clients to actually manage their projects externally. So we don't have the use case for this, but if you wanted to, you could even add these lists within your Slack canvases. There's so much you can add there, and I guess the main reason I like it a lot is because it is an empty book. I mean, you can really shape this in what you have. For example, this is an example of something that we would run in our client channels. You have the example company hub, we welcome them, we have some quick links where they can easily book a call or check out the Google Drive. We have a status which basically lets us know how the project is doing, where it's delayed, on track, and when the next check-in call is, as well as when the actual call is with a meeting link. We have an onboarding checklist which clients can easily just tick off as they go through the different things that we need them to complete. And down below, we have all the team members that are going to be dealing with within the actual Slack channel, some communication guidelines, which this actually is very, very helpful just to give your clients an idea of when they can actually expect responses from you. A feedback suggestion where they can easily just fill out a form and collect some feedback, or it actually just points them in the direction of where they need to be if they actually want to and get some help. All they need to loop me in to actually provide me some feedback and a cool little link that you can just press to actually book a call with me. I mean, this is nothing impressive. It's nothing crazy. It's just basically a document that you can integrate within your Slack channels, just like this. So your clients can come in, easily check different information, easily access different resources straight from a jump without having to jump between 10 different places. Now, this isn't a Slack demo. I don't want to spend 10 minutes just going over all the different features of Slack canvases because that's not the intention of this video. So let's move on to the two biggest benefits that I actually see of you integrating these Slack canvases within your client channels. The first benefit I see of actually having these canvases in Slack is having everything in one place. And this is very important. And I don't think you realize the value of this until you have everything scattered in about 10 different software, 10 different documents, so on and so forth, because this can get very confusing. Now, once again, for context, when we work with clients, we do a lot of done for you work. So we have a bunch of different Loom videos that we need to store for them, going over tutorials for different automations, for examples. We have so many different documents breaking down automations. We have different sheets that they actually need to use to trigger different automations and to track them. We even have important YouTube videos that I need to watch to give them better idea about certain concepts. There's so much different information that the clients need to keep a track of, and client portals work to some extent. However, the way we actually use our client portals was more so to keep track of progress in a project, not as a hub to basically store different information. And this is where Slack canvases actually came in. They acted as that hub for us to basically easily store different information and also welcome clients. But this is a massive thing. I mean, if you have everything in one place, this means there's only one source of truth for the clients need to go to find these different resources. And this can have a massive advantage, guys, because think about it. If a client knows where to find something, they won't have to message you to ask where to actually find it. This in turn will lead to fewer delays in them getting what they want. And most importantly, you spend less time helping them, which, as selfish as that sound, is actually beneficial for your client because you can spend more time doing the work that actually matters rather than acting admin, trying to point them in the right direction or finding different resources for them, especially if it's quite urgent. Having everything in one place just avoids any unnecessary back and forth communication that you need to have with your clients if they don't know where to find specific resources, guys. And obviously, in my case, I run a done for you operational agency, so we have a ton of different resources. But even as a marketing agency, you might have a resource collection of different SOPs of how to actually shoot ads, or a different Google Drive folder where they need to upload ads, maybe even a link where they need to easily book calls with you in case they need help with anything, a form to give you feedback on ads. There's so many different things that don't go noticed. And what happens, especially as you start working a client over a longer period of time, as you increase your lifetime value, you're going to notice everything will be scattered. And this is what you do not want, guys. It's going to become a hot mess. It's going to be hard for you to find different things, and it's going to be hard for clients to find different things, which is going to increase frustration, which you obviously don't want. You want to give your clients the best possible experience. And using Slack canvases, I'm not saying that it's going to revolutionize your client experience, but it's an easy way to improve it and make it their life that 1% easier. So far, the first main benefit of using Slack canvases is having everything in one place, guys. And trust me when I say this, this makes a massive difference, both for your team, because they don't have to scavenge around looking for 10 different places for 10 different clients, but most importantly, for your clients. Because when they need to access resources, especially if it's urgent, it's very easy for them to actually do that and avoid any unnecessary back and forth between yourself or your different team members and your clients, so they can spend more time focusing on the more important things. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit, which is, in all honesty, what agency owners usually prefer, is that Slack canvases give your clients a better impression. I mean, think about it like this. When you actually invite your client through Slack, these different canvases are a first impression of what they actually see, because the messages channels realistically is empty unless you have different team members maybe introducing themselves and saying hi. Having a nice clean onboarding Slack canvas where, for example, they can access who they're actually be working with, they can check out, where to actually book a call, they can tick off different onboarding steps. It's just a way to easily elevate your services. And once again, guys, I mean, this is within Slack itself. If you're already using Slack for your client communication, you already have the ability to have everything in one place when it comes to these different things. It's not like you're adding an additional software, you're paying extra. Slack already built out these features for you, so there's no reason not to use them. And once again, if I have to be completely honest, I wasn't using this for a long time, and it wasn't until that I actually got introduced to it and a client even suggested this to me that I was like, you know what, there's no reason for me not to use this because it's right there. A way I like to think about it specifically for onboarding is that you can use these different Slack canvases sort of kind of like a FAQs page at the end of a sales page. You know, you have a long sales page, and right at the very end, let's go to video, all the testimonials, and right at the very end, you have FAQs, which just answers all those small questions that are actually quite important, like how long would this take? Think of it as your Slack canvas as an opportunity to do that. And once again, guys, if I quickly just show you, well, in this example, I'm answering different questions. Okay, when is the next call? How can I book a call? What's the project status right now? What do I need to do to actually kick things off? You have an onboarding checklist. Who am I going to be communicating with? I've got my team members that they can easily see the time zones. What's the communication guidelines? What is communication like? How can I actually get in touch with someone? How can I give feedback to different people? I mean, think about it like this. Once again, if they were to log in without this, they just have this empty Slack channel with maybe a couple introductions from your team members, which you definitely should do. But if you have something like this where you can easily just welcome people, you know, they have their name here, they can see their company name, it just looks a lot more official and give your clients a better first impression of you and your company. Remember, the whole point of onboarding is to give your clients a first impression and get them in as soon as possible, because that impression you make is going to carry on into the rest of your relationship. So the sooner you can do these small things, like having a very clean client portal maybe, or having a clean onboarding email, or quickly contacting your lead to create a better first impression of yourself and your company to your clients, the more trust they're actually going to have in yourself. And it's these small things that add up, guys. Trust me when I say this. We work with a lot of different agencies, we improve a lot of different onboarding processes, and it's always a collection of these small things that really make a massive difference to the client experience from start to finish. So by this point, you know exactly what Slack canvases actually are and the benefits of actually using Slack canvases in your client channels in your agency. But this doesn't answer the question as to why I'm recording this video in March 2025, nearly a year after I actually started using these Slack canvases. To be completely honest with you guys, the reason I postponed creating this video is up until about 3 months ago, I was manually creating these Slack canvases. And that kind of goes against a lot of things I'm talking on this channel about manually doing things. And the reason for this was because when I first got introduced to Slack canvases, I had a quick look at make.com, checked that there wasn't any integration to actually automatically add these Slack canvases, and was like, okay, fine, I should do it manually. I guess there's no way to do it. Very, very lazy on my end. I didn't do my due diligence, and I paid the price. For a long time, every single time we onboarded a client, I was manually creating these Slack canvases, most times from scratch, which took a bunch of time for no reason. It was a complete waste of time. Well, don't worry, today I'm going to be showing you a better way to do that to avoid you having to spend any time creating these Slack canvases for your client channels. I'm going to show you a fully automated way to use these Slack canvases, which requires no extra work and still allows you to gain the benefits that we talked about a second ago. Using this simple automation that we're going to build in from scratch, you're going to be able to fully automate the creation of Slack canvases within your client channels. Let's go over how you can actually automate the creation of Slack canvases within your client channels in Slack. So this automation here is quite simple, and once again I'm going to be building this from scratch for you guys so you get an idea of how you can actually do this. And the reason for that is because it's not very well documented. You have to make 2 API calls to actually achieve this, and once again I'm going to be taking you through the whole thing in a second. So in this case I'm using make.com to actually do this. It doesn't really matter what you use, whether it's make.com, Zapier, maybe even N8N. All we're doing here is just using a no-code automation software to automate the creation and make a couple different API calls. Don't get too focused on a specific tool, guys, apart from Slack, I guess. In this video, it's the only tool you actually need. So within my make.com account, I'm going to set the trigger. Now, in this example, the trigger would realistically be part of your onboarding process. But today, because I'm not building an entire onboarding process, I'm just building the actual creation of a Slack channel. I'm just going to use a trigger to actually set different variables. And let's say, for example, you can do this as part of your onboarding process. You can do this as part of your fulfillment process. Let's just say at some stage in the work you actually do for your clients, you're creating these Slack canvases. But let's say in this case, I'm kind of simulating a mini onboarding process. So the first thing I want to do is set the client name, which in this case is going to be example company. Now, in this case, I'm going to assume you already have created a Slack channel. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. It's not very complicated at all. But all I'm doing here is basically pasting a Slack channel ID, which is just the identification for that specific channel. I'm also going to paste a Google Drive link so you can get an idea of how you can, dynamically add different Google Drive. Once again, let's say you're simulating some sort of onboarding process, and let's say you automatically create a Google Drive for them. I'm also going to add in a next call date, which all this is basically a date for a next call. Once again, in this case, I'm simulating an onboarding process where we're storing the date of the next call, and I'm also going to include a link for that next call so they can easily just join the call. Now, once again, these are just examples. Don't get too overcomplicated by this. All I'm doing here is basically simulating a onboarding process where we've created a Google Drive folder, we've created a Slack channel, and we've created a call or booked a call through them. If you're confused by any of this, don't stress. I've got a whole video going over onboarding, which I'm going to show you at the end of this video. So in this example, let's say we've triggered our onboarding process. Now we actually have to find the channel we just created. So for this, I'm going to go into Slack and I'm going to scroll all the way down until I go to channels and I see get a channel. Now here, all I'm going to do is basically get a channel by the specific identifier, which in this case is the channel ID. And I'm going to enter that just by going over to Slack channel and choosing my specific identifier. In order to actually connect your Slack to mate.com, all you have to do is press this add button. A pop-up will appear, and literally it's very, very simple. All you have to do is press save and a pop-up will appear for you to actually connect your Slack channel to make.com. I'm not going to do this as an example because I already have the connection, but it's fairly simple. All I'm going to do now is enter that Slack channel ID, which once again is basically just the identifier for Slack. And if I press run, you're going to see it's now going to find a specific channel for me, just like that. So in this case, we have the skill proof hub. And then if we scroll all the way down, we have all the information, which at the moment we don't need to use. So let's say we have a channel now, we've set it up. Let's talk about how we can actually create these Slack channels. Now, this is quite simple, but it's not as straightforward as what I just did in the previous step because we have to make an API call. And by the way, guys, if at any point after this video, this specific method doesn't work because Slack has updated their API, all you have to do is search Slack API on Google, head over to the docs. If you scroll all the way down, you're going to see the APIs. You can open this up on the left-hand side, go to web API, and then, everything will be here. There's so many different conversational APIs for channels, API calls, and this is basically where I got all this information from. But luckily for you, you don't have to do any heavy lifting today because I've already done everything for you. All you have to do is just copy me. And by the way, guys, if you do want to take this copy into a whole nother level, check out my free community using the first thing in the description. If you go over to Classroom and then YouTube resources, you'll literally see a template that you can just press and download, so you can copy this specific file straight into a mate.com account and just steal the automation from me. But I still recommend you watch this video to get an understanding of how you can actually do it. So you go over to Slack, scroll all the way down to make an API call, and this is where things get fun. So once again, you have your connection here. You could also add another connection, which to be honest, I would recommend depending on your scopes. But in this example, I've got my example app, and all I'm going to do is copy and paste this specific URL. Now, because we're making an API call within the make.com integration itself, we don't have to have the all API call, which will look something like this, because in this case, it's already set relative to slack.com/API. So all we have to do is add the second half of it, which is a specific direction in which we actually want to send this API, which in this case is conversation.canvases.create. This just basically means we're creating a canvas within that specific Slack channel, which they like to call conversations in the API. I'm going to change this method from a get to a post because we're actually sending some data and actually creating some data. We're not getting some data, very simply put. And in this case, once again, because we're using a Slack integration, we don't have to add any headers. If you're using, for example, a HTTP module to actually make a request, then you would have to add different headers with your different authentication. But lucky enough, Slack already does it for us. So the only thing that we need to add now is just the Slack channel that you actually want to add this to and the name of the actual canvas. Now in this example, I've got this. And this is just a very, very simple kind of body that, to be honest, I use ChatGPT to generate to actually find that specific channel ID. So we create the canvas within the relevant channel and automatically name the canvas with a specific name, which in this case, I'm going to get from my trigger, which is the client name right here. So ignore the text for now. We're going to add this after. But if I go ahead and actually run this automation, you're going to see it's going to find a specific channel. Within that channel, it's going to automatically create a canvas. As you can see, we have a status code 200, which in most cases means we actually managed to create that channel. And if I go back to this specific channel and I go to example company hub, you can see we created an empty Slack canvas. But this is not really useful. I mean, anyone can do this. There's no point automating this unless we actually get some sort of content within there, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in the next step. So in order to do this, you just have to make another API call. And to be honest, as I'm recording this, I kind of just realized you can just do this in this specific call in the first place. However, I think this is useful in the future, especially in a second when I talk about different ways you can actually use this automation. So I'm still going to go over how to do this a bit longer way. So I'm just going to put another API call. And in this case, rather than putting conversations/edit, I'm going to put canvases.edit. Let me just change my user to this specific one because this is the admin account that has access to all different channels. So once again, I'm going to change the method to post because we're actually sending information here. We're updating it. I don't have to add any headers because once again, it's already done through Slack. And the main thing I need to care about is the actual body itself. And bear in mind, this is where it gets a bit chunky, so bear with me, but I'm going to show you how to actually generate this. This is what we're adding to Slack, and this is basically our channel. This is how we're adding all the kind of custom information. Let me quickly change this to company name, which is just a variable that we get from the initial trigger. And as you can see, this is just markdown. I mean, Guys, I literally generated this using ChatGPT. I mean, I'm not even joking with you guys. This is nothing complicated. The whole reason we're doing it like this is because the way the Slack canvases work is it has to be in Markdown, right? So for example, to add different thing like cards, I have to put in a very specific format, which as you can see, I've done here. What I'd recommend doing is literally just copy and pasting this. You can take a screenshot and just copy it, head it over to ChatGPT, pasting in and saying, this is some Slack Markdown for my canvas, which I got on YouTube. I want to customize it for my Slack, make it say something different in the same format. Just paste that, and then it's going to go ahead and actually automatically change it for you. Now, this is not going to work what it's doing right now. It can't be this format of Markdown because everything's too spread out. So I just said, give it to me in a form which I can add it to make.com as Markdown. As you can see, it's going to go ahead and add it to me in a one line, which this is how it has to be. When you do it like this, you can test it, but it's not going to work. And simply all you have to do is copy this, go over back to your make.com account and just replace this text right here. But that's how you can customize a specific thing. But before you actually do that, let me just show you this work so you don't waste your time. So as you can see now, all we're basically doing, we're making a call to actually edit that specific canvas. And to do that, we'll basically get an canvas ID from a previous step, which you can find in the previous step at the very start if you go to canvas ID. All we're basically doing here is adding where we want to add this, which in this case is at the end. For some reason, Slack canvases, the API is a bit annoying. You can't just edit something. You need to actually indicate where you want to edit it to. So we're just doing at the end, and the type is going to be Markdown. And once again, there we're adding our Markdown with the different cards. And if I go ahead and actually run this for you guys, once again, it's going to find that channel, create the canvas, and then edit the canvas. And if I go back to Slack, you get an example of what this looks like. Example company hub. Ta-da! You can see I've got everything. I've got the name, I've got the quick links which I can press. If I go to Google Drive, it's going to take me to dynamically the Google Drive that I added previously. I can see what my next call is. I can have that onboarding checklist, which as a client I can just add in. It's dynamically added different team members within Slack. I've got a communication guideline, and I have an easy way to actually book a call as a client. And by the way, guys, this simple automation automates that canvas creation. So as an agency owner, I don't have to spend any additional time creating a specific canvas, making it look pretty, because I just did it once and it's going to pay off for me to actually do that. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you can automate the creation of Slack canvases in your client channels. It's fairly simple. There's a couple of things I would add to this if I wanted to make it a lot better. First things first, which is fairly obvious, I would actually integrate this with an onboarding process. At the moment, this is kind of like a standalone automation, but realistically, what we'll do before here is add a couple more steps to create a Google Drive folder, create the Slack channel, maybe even book a call with a client, so on and so forth, send off the onboarding email, different things like that. Invite different team members, which is actually very important. So I would integrate this as a much bigger onboarding process. And if you want to watch a video going over how I automated my onboarding process from start to finish using a simple automation, then check out this video right here, which will show you exactly that. Now, the reason I said I would still show you this last step, even though it wasn't really necessary, because realistically, you can just update this Markdown when you've actually first created the Slack canvas and save yourself the extra operational use, is because in the future, let's say you want to update different things such as the project status within the actual Slack channel. For example, this right here, dynamically based on your project management tool, you now have the ability to do that. All you have to do is set up an automation that triggers whenever there's an update in your project management tool. And from that, you can go ahead and actually update a specific Slack canvas if you store different variables, such as the Slack channel ID and different things such as the canvases within the database of some sort in your project management system, for example. That way, you can make this a lot more dynamic rather than make it stationary. Like, for example, even the next call, you can automate a list or something that has all the different call recordings all in one place. Now, once again, we use client portals for majority of this, so it's not a massive worry for me. The main thing I wanted is mainly like an onboarding for these canvases, and that's mainly what we use it for, to be honest, as well as different resources. But realistically, we're not dynamically updating those. We're just adding in when we need to. But if you don't have client portals and you want to begin using these Slack canvases, kind of like a mini client portal for your agency and your clients, then you need to add different automations like that take information from project management tools and automatically update them onto Slack, or else you're going to spend a lot of different time doing admin work trying to get all that information over. But apart from that, guys, that's pretty much it for me. You've now learned how you can use Slack canvases in your agency, the benefits of actually using these Slack canvases specifically in your client channels, and how to automate the actual creation of these Slack channels and the editing of them down the line completely from scratch. At the time of me recording this, which is March 2025, I have not seen a single YouTube tutorial going over the automation part of this video. So if this video is valuable for you and you now know how to automate the creation of Slack canvases within your Slack channels, then leave a like and leave a comment below. This helps the algorithm know what you like and recommend you more videos like this for different ways you can actually improve the backend systems in your agency. Apart from that, guys, it's been a pleasure actually recording this video. If you have any questions about anything, leave a comment either below in the comments or in my free community. We have a ton of different resources down in the description. Check them out. They're 100% free. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, because we're dropping videos like this every single week, going over real actionable examples of how you can actually improve the backend systems in your agency. I can almost guarantee there's no one else on YouTube in this space dropping this much value on a consistent basis. So make the most of it while you still can. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye. And once again, don't stop your learning here. Check out this video that's about to come up so you can automate your entire onboarding process. See you later.